The DFS Profit Plan is a contest selection framework that we created over here at SaberSim through extensive back testing that we did internally. We feel that using the DFS Profit Plan to select your contests night in and night out will give you the best chance of growing your bankroll while managing the swings and smoothing out your variance over time. The main elements of the DFS Profit Plan are separating your contests into diversifiers and elevator type contests. Your diversifiers are going to be your 20 max and 150 max contests. Your elevators are going to be your single entry and 3 max type contests. Let's take a look at the slider settings for our single entry and 3 max type contests. If we were to come into the build screen and change this entry limit to single entry and change this to something in the 1 to 10,000 range, which is a common type of entrance for single entry tournaments, we would see that the slider settings are 0, 3, 6. If we were to now change the entry limit to 3 max, we would see that the slider settings do not change. Therefore, it totally makes sense to build all of these entries together. Similarly, we can go over to the 20 max entry limit and change this to over 50,000 entrants, which is very common. You see the slider settings of 0, 6, 8. If we were to change this entry limit to 150 max, the slider settings would go to 0, 6, 9. The change is not significant when compared to the 20 max. However, both the 20 max and 150 slider settings are very different from the single entry or 3 max settings of 0, 3, 6. This is why we recommend splitting them into these two distinct groups. From here, I'm going to show you how to get these lineups into SaberSim and show you how to apply the DFS Profit Plan in real time. First thing, come into your entries tab and download your entries file. I already have mine loaded up here. What you can always do is hit this upload new entries button, and then you hit this download template file from FanDuel. It will take you to FanDuel and take you to a screen where you can download your CSV. I have already done that, so I'm going to hit select and I'm going to upload this entries template, and it will overwrite the current one in here. So this is my new entries template. It's the same one that you were already looking at. As you can see, I have an array of contests here. I have 25 max, 18 max, 12 max, 8 max, 6 max, 5 max, 3 max, 2. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to treat every contest underneath 5 entries as an elevator and every contest over 6 entries as a diversifier. This is not a hard and fast rule, and you do not have to approach it this way. The DFS Profit Plan is a framework and a guide. It is up to you to make these nuanced decisions at times about how you want to handle it. I think either direction is totally okay. But from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the home screen. I'm going to make any adjustments that I feel necessary, and then I'm going to build 2 builds. I've already built them up here, and you can also name these builds to make sure that you are keeping track of them properly. So I have named this first build diversifiers, which is my 150 max. And then I have this second build, which is my elevators, which is my single entry and 3 max contest. One thing I didn't mention is that you should be building a unique lineup for every entry. So all I did was I came into this entry screen. I added up the total number of entries from this 6 value all the way to the 150, which came out to 264 entries. And then I did the same thing for all the 5 max, 3 max, 2 max, and 1 max. Those came out to 55 total entries. It is our recommendation in the DFS Profit Plan to enter a unique lineup for every entry. So that is what I'm doing here. So I'm changing this number of lineups to 264 for my elevators. And then once I am done making any adjustments, I am going to go to this fill entries button here. When I hit this, what I am going to do is I'm going to make sure only the contests that I want to fill are checked. So the easiest way to do that is to uncheck all contests and then check in the ones that you want to fill. So for instance, that would be these top ones here that are all above 6 entries. I am going to fill unique rank. I like to use unique rank because it takes into account Saber score and grades puts in the lineups from top to bottom. If I wanted to put a different contest at the top and make sure my top 25 lineups went into this first one, I can do that by using the drag and drop feature and moving the contests around as I see fit. Unique rank is also the default fill method, so you shouldn't have to do anything there. So from here, I'm going to hit fill, and it is going to fill the 264 entries that I have right here. And then now that the diversifiers are done, I'm going to hop over to the elevators. And this is my second build. Going to make any adjustments I see fit. When I go to the fill entries tab, the previously checked contests are still going to be checked, and all these other contests are not going to be checked. So what I need to do is I need to uncheck these contests here. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. It looks like we have less diversifier contests than elevator type contests. So the easiest thing is to just recheck all the contests and then uncheck the ones that I don't want in this case, but you can do this however you see fit. This seems most time efficient for me. So now when I hit this fill button, it is going to fill all of these contests that do not have lineups in them. So I am going to come up here to the top, hit this fill button. If I go down here, I can see that each contest has a lineup and a fill method. And another indication of that is that this download entries button is now green. So that also tells me that all the lineups have been filled. If you notice, this says download 55 entries. It will only download whatever number of contests are checked. So it's important when you are ready to finally upload this to the site to check all of the contests and download all entries. Now it says all. That is exactly what we want to do. So I would hit download. I would go over to FanDuel and I would upload those entries. All right. So now it is time to talk about late swap. Sometimes news breaks, we need to make swaps. If you have the time, I would always recommend swapping your diversifiers separately from your elevators, but sometimes you're in a time crunch and you cannot do that. However, for the sake of this example, we will act as if you have plenty of time to do both. The way I would do it is I would come into the build screen. After lock, this late swap is going to be toggled on automatically, just like this. What I would do is I would just choose the contest that I want to swap. First, I'm going to swap my diversifier. So I'm going to uncheck all of the contests here, and then only check in the ones that I want to perform this swap for, which is going to be these 6. This number of lineups being swapped, 264, is going to match our original build. So that is another good indication that we are on the right track here. I'm also going to make sure that I choose the correct slider settings for whatever group of contests I am swapping. So here I'm going to hit this late swap button, and I'm going to let my late swap lineups build here. Now that we have the late swap finished, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this download new entries button. All this is going to do is, one, it's going to download an entries file, but I don't want to do anything with that. By hitting this green download button, what it is going to do, it is going to tell SaberSim that these are the lineups that I want to use for my contests. So once we go back over here to the entry screen, we can see that the lineups that we just swapped all say fill method late swap. That is because we hit that download button in the build screen. It tells SaberSim that these are your new lineups. That is perfect. I am now going to do the same exact thing for my elevator. So I'm going to come into my late swap here, and then I'm going to check in all the contests and then uncheck the ones that I do not want to late swap here. Secondly, I'm going to make sure that this number of lineups matches my original of 55, which it does, which is great. I now have to change the settings back to what I wanted previously, which was single entry 1 to 10,000 here. So this looks perfect. I'm going to hit late swap and let these build. All right, our late swap is now complete. What I can do at this point is I can hit this download new entries button again. This is going to tell SaberSim that these are my new lineups for these contests. I'm going to go over to the entry screen, and then I'm going to verify that the late swap did in fact work, which it did here. So now all of my lineups here are being based off of late swaps, and I can see that the number of lineups used is different for the two sets, which tells me that the late swaps worked, right? At this point, I'm going to check in all of the contests. So this green button now says download all entries. I'm going to hit the download all entries. or I can hit this download and open FanDuel, and then I'm going to go into FanDuel and upload my set of late swap lineups one time. That is the best practice for late swapping diversifiers and elevators. And if you guys have any questions, you can always reach at support@sabersim.com. Thank you.